All right, it is 13 days to the start of the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. It will be the first ever World Cup in the Middle East and also the first ever World Cup to be staged in the winter. Qatar is ready to host fans from all over the world and the 32 participating nations as far as the World Cup is concerned. For Africa, only 5 countries will be representing the continent. We shall have a confirmation of that in graphics in a bit. Only 5 nations will be representing the continent. They are African champions, Senegal. They are called the Teranga Lions. We have the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon, Nigeria's nemesis, the Black Stars of Ghana, the Atlas Lions of Morocco, and the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia. On the program today, we shall turn our focus on Tunisia. Well, they are known as the Carthage Eagles. They've had 5 appearances at the World Cup, and that's a confirmation on your screen. 5 teams representing Africa at the World Cup this season. Tunisia are known as the Carthage Eagles. They've been at the World Cup 5 times previously. They hosted and won the Nations Cup, but have never advanced from the group stages in all their participations at the World Cup, which dates back to 1978. Let's take a look at Tunisia at the World Cup. 5 appearances, all has been group stage exits, including 2018 when they were one of Africa's representatives to the World Cup in Russia. All right, Tunde Adelakun, publisher, African Soccer Magazine, is live on the show from the UK. Glad to have you on the program today. Well, it would be safe to call Tunisia one of the minnows as far as the World Cup is concerned. But in a group, if you take a look at Group D, where they find themselves, some way, somehow, you may want to think the Tunisians may be able to conjure something from that group.
Well, absolutely. You can't afford to write any club off, any country off when it comes to World Cup football. We know what has been done in the past by countries that have gone and surprised the world. And Tunisia is no dark horse. At the end of the day, when you look at the kind of pedigree that they've got, the kind of players that they have got, and the kind of style of play that they put together, you wouldn't write them off. You write them off at your own peril. So definitely, Tunisia has got something to offer. In the group that they are, they might emerge, they might just surprise someone and emerge and come out of that group. It's about time we start to think positively about our countries that are going to the World Cup representing Africa. And one of those countries is Tunisia. And one of those countries that can do something is Tunisia.
All right, in a group that has France, Australia, and Denmark, Group D, someone told me that perhaps Tunisia may not be able to win a game in that group. France are the defending world champions. Denmark are looking good from Europe. Australia also a very difficult opposition. Which of those teams do you think the Tunisians will have a chance against?
Well, forget the form books at the moment, and let's concentrate on the fact that football is a dynamic, very, very interesting game where the unexpected, the least expected happens. I don't think that France will go to sleep easy thinking that this game is won when they play Tunisia, because a lot of the Tunisian players actually had their grounding in France. A lot of the current crop of Tunisian players actually grew up in France and converted to Tunisian origin from France. So you can't just write them off. And they play their game in Ligue 1 regularly on a weekly basis in France. So obviously you can't write them off. Denmark depends on what side of the bed they wake up on. They're not very consistent, and Tunisia can go in there and get something. Against the Aussies as well, Australia. As an African, when I'm looking at African teams against Australia, it actually fills me with sadness, sorrow, and trepidation to think that we actually are saying that on paper, we're not good enough to beat Australia. Any team from Africa should be able to do that. It depends on what kind of team turns up on the day. So we are looking at a Tunisia that can still take 6 points conveniently and comfortably if they do the planning right. The biggest problem with Africa generally is that, do we plan well for the World Cup? Do we do the right things that we need to do, especially in this very special World Cup? This very special World Cup where the season is we're going to be like 1 week before the World Cup, before the teams get together in camp. We also have to look at the quality of the coaching, have to look at the quality of the bench and the kind of science that is in place to actually prepare the team. But if all these things are right, I think Tunisia can still stage a big surprise and get at least 6 points from those first 3 games.